Over the world.
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 I warmly welcome you to my new channel, and I hope with all my heart that you will have a good time here. And if you feel fun while watching my channel, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel. This new channel was opened for two reasons. The first, to make you feel entertained, learn, have fun and discover new things. Second, to help my parents pay for my university studies. Thanks for your time. Ancient Egypt was one of the most advanced civilizations for about 3,000 years. Starting from small settlements on the banks of the Nile, these settlements grew into their own kingdoms. These kingdoms were then united into the ancient kingdom of Egypt around 3100 BC. From there, the story of the greatest civilization in history began. To this day, the ancient Egyptians made great progress in art, architecture and lifestyle that kept their progress and prosperity throughout the ages. Without a doubt, the Egyptians were the best builders in history. They built the majestic pyramids, which are the most famous landmark to date. But ancient Egypt was not only known for the pyramids, but there are many other contemporary aspects that stood out in them. In this video, we will show you the top 10 shocking facts that you do not know about the ancient Egyptian civilization. 10. Egyptian makeup. In our modern age, makeup is usually used by women and rarely by men in some particular cultures. But in ancient Egypt, both men and women used cosmetic makeup in their daily lives. In those times, the concept of beauty was not limited to one's appearance only, but also considered a sign of holiness. The ancient Egyptians had a purely spiritual conception of even the simplest aspects of life, and cosmetics being a popular routine practice. The ancient Egyptians were keen to rub their skin with oils and moisturizers to protect it from the heat, and to use red lead paste mixed with water on the lips and cheeks using a brush, and they used to paint their nails with yellow and orange. They gave special and detailed attention to their eyes. They put a custom dye on the upper eyelid as well as the lower eyelid. They also added a line extending from the sides of the eye to the sides of the face. They believed that elaborate makeup would give them protection from the Egyptian gods, Horus and Ra. 9. The Great Sphinx. The Sphinx is one of the greatest colossal carvings in the ancient world that bears the head of a human and the body of a lion. It is said to have been carved from a large limestone slab from the bedrock of the Giza Plateau. Ironically, being one of the largest monolithic stone statues in the world, the full body of the Sphinx was only made visible in 1905, when a huge amount of sand covering it was removed away from it. It has a rich history that carries with it the impressions of a flourishing civilization. There is a mysterious secret about the horrific erosion on the face of the Sphinx. Despite the high quality of the stone used in its construction, the nose was completely lost, and legends say that Napoleon's soldiers struck the Sphinx with a cannon and blew the nose, although early drawings of the Sphinx appear without the nose before the Napoleonic era. 8. Egyptian board games. The ancient Egyptians enjoyed spending their time playing interesting games. In fact, there were a number of games like Min and Menkala, but much more popular was the hieroglyphic Senet, and it has been played in ancient Egypt since 3100 BC. Even the well-known Egyptian pharaoh King Tutankhamun had a copy of the game Senet in his tomb, and it remained for the past 3,000 years until modern archaeologists found it. The game requires 2 players and is played on decorated boards drawn on the ground. The game consists of 30 squares drawn on 3 rows, 10 squares in each row, and not all of them are carved with hieroglyphs, as the carved-in language represented a good or bad omen and changed the course of play similarly. 7. Organized work. A number of pyramids were built in ancient Egyptian times, so it can be conceivable that an extraordinary number of workers were employed for their construction. But the belief that all these majestic pyramids were built by slaves or prisoners is an unfounded misunderstanding, that they were built by organized skilled workers. Historians speculate that given the sheer amount of labor and engineering skills employed in constructing structures of such a large size, at least 2 types of construction teams may have been employed, both with a skilled and permanent workforce of royal stature. Workers were paid through regular quotas, and most workers were respected for their skills regardless of their social background. The workers who lost their lives while building the pyramids were honored and buried in tombs near the great pyramids they were building. 6. Tutankhamun and the Cursed Tomb. Ancient Egypt witnessed the emergence of a very large number of famous pharaohs, including Khufu, Snefer, Amenhotep, Ramses III, and Akhenaten. But the only royal tomb found by Selim is the tomb of Egyptian king Tutankhamun. The irony lies in the fact that this young man, whose reign is not comparable to the achievements of great Egyptian kings, found in his tomb the greatest royal treasures from ancient Egypt. The tomb of King Tut gave a golden opportunity for modern historians to study the original mummy of an Egyptian king that has been well preserved for more than 3,000 years. Then came the legend of the curse that would fall on those who dared open King Tut's tomb. The discovery of the tomb in 1922 was followed by a series of incidents that included a tragic end for a number of people involved in the discovery of the tomb. However, it was Tutankhamun's tomb that helped modern society unravel the details of the modern-day state of ancient Egypt. 5. Cleopatra VII. Along with the most popular names in the civilization of ancient Egypt, the name of the Queen Cleopatra, who gained great fame in the ancient Egyptian civilization, emerged. Although she was born in Alexandria and was part of a Macedonian Greek dynasty, she eventually became the last Egyptian pharaoh and the last queen of the Ptolemaic dynasty. In fact, it had a direct relationship with the Ptolemaic dynasty that ruled Egypt from 30 to 323 BC and is a ruling brotherhood whose cultural roots are linked to Greek ties. Cleopatra enjoyed great sophistication. She killed her half-sister to eliminate any possible threat to her rise to power, and she also had contact with Julius Caesar. Although the process of her burial is surrounded by a number of legends, it was said that her husband Mark Antony buried her somewhere in Egypt, but no one knows this exact place until today. 4. Egyptian hieroglyphs. Egyptian hieroglyphs were the official writing method used by the ancient Egyptians, a writing system that was essentially a mixture of symbols and native alphabetic elements. Ancient Egyptian writers used more than 2,000 hieroglyphs. It is considered one of the oldest writing systems that existed in the history of human civilization, and hieroglyphs were used to record events from daily life. 3. Gods and jinns. People in ancient Egypt worshipped more than 2,000 gods and goddesses. Each of these gods and goddesses controlled a certain aspect of daily life. Some gods were the cause of creation, some brought the annual Nile flood, and some provided protection from all evil and disease. Demons were considered superior to humans, but not as powerful as the gods, as the basic deities represented the essential aspects of life. Amun-Ra was considered the king of all gods and goddesses. Likewise, Anubis was the god of death, and it was he who took care of the embalming process of the dead. Perhaps the most important deity was Ra, the god of the sun and sunshine. 2. The ancient Egyptian put a huge thought on the journey after death. Death was not the end of life but merely appointed time as the dead awaited final revival. They really believed that eternal life would come after death, and they would have the luck to get the pity of the gods. They would mummify the bodies of their dead relatives and loved ones for safekeeping and to ensure that they would get their bodies back after death. The pharaohs were the ones who believed most in the existence of an afterlife, so they built majestic royal tombs and the Great Pyramids. When they died, their bodies were embalmed using the most advanced embalming techniques, and they were then buried along with large amounts of gold, jewelry, and luxury items that could be used in their afterlife. 1. The Great Pyramids of Giza. Thousands of years ago, there was a time when ancient Egypt was one of the richest and most powerful civilizations in the world. During this time period, the pharaohs had a number of majestic pyramids, from which the pyramids of Giza in particular were built, and it was one of the most gigantic structures in human history. The first of these tombs was built for King Djoser III around 27 centuries BC near Saqqara. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest man-made structure for an unprecedented period of 3,871 years. It is worth noting that the history of ancient Egypt extends far beyond the greatness of its pyramids. In fact, Egyptian history is so diverse and surrounded by so many secrets that scholars had to create a separate field of study in order to research and document history. The previous list included details of the civilization that have fascinated historians and the general public alike to this day.